In this video, we're going to look at the different styles of management and leadership that you are required to know for Unit 1. There's various different forms of leadership. If you think about it in terms of leadership itself, the whole point of being a leader, of being a manager, is getting your employees to work towards similar goals. So it's the way that you motivate them and get them to work. Now there's various different ways that you can motivate and lead your team. And what you must remember is that you're going to be looking at it in terms of what should the manager be doing? What should the manager be doing to get workers to complete their job? And this depends on what type of company it is. Because for some workers, they don't really need to be motivated because maybe they're doing a job that they really love. So a manager doesn't need to be pushing them constantly, making sure they're working, shouting at them. That just isn't appropriate, and that's not the way that it should be done. For other employees in different jobs, maybe they're never going to be motivated to work hard because the job they're doing is quite boring. So a manager in that context is going to need to be on top of their workers all the time, making sure that they are working hard. So when you're thinking about in your exam what type of leadership would work well, think about the scenario. If you're given a case study, think about what type of leadership would work best for the business that you're talking about. And remember, some managers, some leaders are better than others. Some people just simply don't have the characteristics or skills to be a good leader. They're more of a follower. So it depends who the person is as well, because just simply may not be a very good leader. So the various different styles that you need to know, there are 5 styles of leader that you need to know, and you need to know what each one is, be able to give a definition and explain how it works. So start with autocratic. Autocratic manager tells people what to do and how to do their job. You don't trust your employees to do their work by themselves. You don't ask employees' opinions. So an autocratic manager would tell workers what to do, how to complete their job. They don't ask for the opinion of the employees. They don't care about the opinion of the employees. They're simply going to tell them, this is what you do, this is how you do it. So there's no room here for employees to give their opinions or employees to motivate themselves. It's not about that. An autocratic manager simply believes that they have to tell employees how to do it, because if they don't, then they probably won't do the job properly. Imagine something like McDonald's. Someone working behind the counter at McDonald's is probably going to have autocratic management. They're going to be told what to do, they're going to be told how long they're working, and they're not going to be given any choice about it. You either do it the way McDonald's tell you to, or you get fired. We've got paternalistic. Now people get a bit confused with this type. Paternalistic is thinking about your employees as part of your own family. You want to look after them, you want to care for them. You want to tell them what to do, because you know that the way that you do things is the right way. They do ask the opinion of their employees, but at the same time they do still keep a close eye on them. They do still tell their employees what to do. So the confusion lies, because it's paternalistic and it seems nice, they're part of the family, you can be confused and wrong in thinking that they don't care what the employees do. They let them get away with anything. That's not true. They still keep a close eye on them. Think about a parent and child. They want the best for the child, but they don't trust them completely to do whatever they want. They've still got to be monitored. So that's the difference between autocratic and paternalistic, is essentially you're still telling the employees what to do, but with paternalistic you are listening to them a bit more, making sure that they're happy, and maybe taking on a few suggestions as well. Democratic leadership, we're getting towards the nicer style of leadership here. It's quite simply, democratic leadership is when the managers will ask the opinions of their workers, of their staff, before making decisions. So a democracy, it's like a team. We're all working together, and before we make any big decision, we're going to ask all of our employees. Now, this is a good idea because employees do the job day in and day out. Sometimes managers and leaders, they don't really know what it's like to do the job because they're not actually doing it themselves. They're just standing back and leading. So getting opinions from employees is great, not only because the employees know how things work and they might have good suggestions, but secondly, it helps to motivate the employees as well. It helps to make the employees feel like they're valued, that their ideas are being listened to. It doesn't mean you have to take on board all of your employees' ideas, but you're at least listening to them, and that can be enough to motivate people. Just the idea that they might be listened to is good enough. We've then got laissez-faire, the French name. Essentially, do what you want. If you have a laissez-faire manager, they have very little to do with telling the employees what to do. They allow the employees to make their own decisions. They allow employees to decide what projects they're going to work on. They allow employees to decide how they're going to go about doing the job. Now, this type of leadership may kind of sound a bit lazy. Oh, the manager's a bit laissez-faire, he's not doing anything. But it can work really, really well in the right situation. If you've got a business full of highly trained, highly skilled, very educated and self-motivated people, laissez-faire management can work really well because everyone's going to work anyway. If you're on top of them all the time shouting at them, you may actually start to demotivate them. They're going to get the job done whether you shout at them or not, so why bother shouting? And in fact, if you do have an office full of highly motivated, highly skilled people, let's say an architect firm where you've got 4 or 5 highly trained architects all working together, they might have really amazing ideas that a manager may not have even thought of. So letting them work on what they're passionate about and what they like to do can actually help really increase the motivation within a workplace. But remember, it only works for certain types of business. So if you tried doing laissez-faire with Tesco's, for example, Tesco supermarket, I'm pretty sure things wouldn't get done, shelves wouldn't get stacked, people wouldn't go through the checkouts quickly. So it only works with certain types of management. Now the last 2 types that you need to know, these are theories. And what you've got to remember with Theory X and Theory Y, it's that it's not about what the employees are actually like, it's about what the manager thinks they are like. So Theory X managers believe that individuals are generally lazy and they don't like working. So if you're a manager and you are Theory X, you call your employees Type X. So Type X employees, you basically think everyone's lazy and they don't want to work. Therefore, because of that, because you think everyone's lazy and they don't want to work, you have to be very authoritarian. You have to be very autocratic with the way that you do things. Therefore, you've got to tell people what to do. You have to keep an eye on them at all times, because if you don't keep an eye on them, because they are inherently lazy and they don't like working, if you give them just a chance to not do their work, then they're not going to do it. And definitely, I'm sure you all know some pupils who would probably fall into the Theory X category. If you give them a week to do their work and then you extend the deadline, they'll just keep not doing the work again and again and again. So if you're a Theory X manager, you believe your employees are basically lazy, they don't like working, and you've got to keep a close eye on them at all times. That doesn't mean they actually are like that, it's what you believe your employees are like. On the flip side, and of course, I should say that the type of hierarchical structure that's needed here is that you need a very narrow structure. What I mean by that is, if you're going to have all these employees that you think are lazy, you're going to have lots of managers who keep a very close eye on them at all time. So you want a very narrow structure so that you've got managers to deal with all these different employees. You can't leave them by themselves because they'll just mess around. On the other side of things, we've got Theory Y. Now, if you're a Theory Y manager, that means that you believe your employees are ambitious, self-motivated, and have self-control. Therefore, with the right conditions, you can allow your workers to do their work without you monitoring them constantly. Workers are able to take their own responsibility. They have self-control. They can work by themselves. That doesn't mean you're necessarily always right. Maybe some of your employees are not Theory Y, but the idea is you treat them as if they are. Now that works great. If they really are self-motivated and they like to have self-control and they can do their own projects, then that's going to work really well. The problem comes if they are Theory X employees but you treat them as Theory Y, you're basically letting people who are lazy do what they want. And flip side, if they are Theory Y employees but you treat them like they're Theory X, this means they're willing to just do their own work and get on with it, but you keep telling them they're lazy all the time, you're going to demotivate them. So those are the different types of management that you need to know for your exam. And remember, the key is that each one works, but it only works in the right scenario. So sometimes democratic might be the right thing to do, sometimes laissez-faire might be the right thing to do, and sometimes the best way to motivate your staff is autocratic management. It all depends what type of business and what type of employees you're dealing with.